Hi everyone, my name is Aliyar and you're watching TecTalk. Uh, Today we are going to talk about one of the most important concept in Python programming language. So far we have talked about multiple concepts and things that we need in Python, and I think this is one of the most important topics in Python that we really need to understand. Because I have seen that this is the topic which is always used when you're writing a code in your practical life or in real-time projects or real-life projects. So if we understand this correct, I think it is going to help us in a very in numerous way in the future programming. So let's go to the screen and let's talk about functions today in Python, how it works, how they are declared, why we need functions in Python, what is functional programming, and what are the other ways that we use in Python, or what are the paradigms that we use in programming languages. So first of all, let me go to the screen and create a file with lesson number 9, because it is a lesson number 9, and lesson number 9.py. So it's going to be a Python file. So first of all, you need to understand that there are many kinds of programming paradigms in Python, but for example, there is a sequential paradigm of programming in Python. So what is a sequential paradigm? For example, I'll give you a very short example so you would understand that what is sequential programming in Python. So for example, I want to add two numbers and I want to print the results of the numbers on the screen. So how can I do that? First of all, let me clear the screen. Now I have number 1. Okay, I have number 1 as 20. Let's say 20. I have number 2 as 30. Number 2 as 30, and I want to add them and show the result to the I want to just print the results. That's it. So I want to no more like this video long. So what I'll do is I'll plus num1 and number 2, and it is going to give me the result printed on the screen. So if I run this function, if I run this code, you are going to see that I would have 50 printed on the screen. So lesson number 9, and I'm see I have 50 printed on the screen. So what happened here is the interpreter or Python interpreter started reading the program from this line, from line 1. It stored 20 in number 1 and stored 30 in number 2, and then it stored these two lines empty, so it ignored them, and then it came to line number 4, and what it saw, it's a print statement. Of course, print is a function that we are going to talk about, and it saw that there are two numbers that are in addition, and the result should be printed on the screen. So what we call 50, we got for 50 on the screen. Now you must have seen this word sequential, one after the other and the other and the other, and so on and so forth. So this is called sequential programming in Python. Now today we are going to talk about functional programming in Python. Function is basically a block of code that you write once, and you want to call it over and over again so you can understand it better. So let me explain it to you. Okay, so in functional programming, I'll do the same thing. I'll do the addition, but with the functional approach. So in Python, how do you define a function? Is like this. You write def is a keyword which is telling the Python interpreter that I'm going to define a function. So then I have the name of the function. So we are doing addition here, and I have I'm doing the addition. So let me write addition, and these two parentheses are there always with function. So what I'm saying that I want to do this thing here, so in the function. So I am saying that whenever I call this function, I want to print, I want to print the summation of num1, num2. So whenever now I want the addition of 20 and 30, I am just going to call the function addition, and that's it. Now you would see that that's it. Now you would see that if I don't call the function, it is going to store the function in the memory, but it will not print anything because this function is not invoked, is not triggered, is not called. That's why I don't see anything on the screen. Let me show you. Now if I write Python lesson, you see nothing is printed on the screen. Why? Because we have not called the function, the addition function. Now if I call the addition function, how do we call? We write the name and then we write the parenthesis. Like in this case, we write the name and then we give the parenthesis. So these are the arguments. We'll talk about them later. But here I call the function, this function, and this is the function in Python. Now if I save it and run it, you would find that 50 would be printed on the screen. So how many times I want to print that? I want to print that many times, like 40 times, like whatever. Whenever I need it, I will call the function and it is going to print that on the screen. See, so what would happen if I would use the sequential programming and I wanted to sum this time using that sequential programming? I would have to write the whole code that we had before multiple times. So we would have more lines, we would have more memory consumptions, we would have more time to process them, and so on and so forth. Here what we did, we write the code once, the function once, and we use that as many times as we want. So this is what we call reusability in Python. Now so now I want to talk about another concept which is also related to functions. So what happens is that it's a kind of the same. It's not the function is not versatile. I cannot pass different arguments to the addition because every time I don't want to plus 30 50. I want to use this function to plus 1000. Sometimes I want different numbers to pass. So they are called arguments. Like we pass arguments to this function. We can also pass arguments to our user defined functions. How do we do that? It's very simple. So when we write Python, whenever we are going to write the function, I can pass argument here in the parenthesis. So I want a, which is the first number, or I can say simply num1, and then I can say num2, and I am going to assign num1 to number 1, num2 to number 2, and num2 to number 2, and it will work the same way. Now I am going to call the function with the same argument 20 and 30. What happened here is I removed the numbers, the hard-coded numbers from this from the block of the addition, and I kept them outside the function. So now I have the control of passing different arguments to the function. Now the result will be the same. For example, if I run this, see I got 50, and if I write the same function with different arguments, for example 20 this 1000 or something like that, or here I want to change this number, and you would find that the first function will sum 20 plus 30, and the second function will plus this number with this number, and we got this number here. So what happened here, we have more control of passing the arguments to the function. So these are called arguments in Python. These are called parameters or arguments to the Python function. So this is what a function is. We can use function for many purposes, or many times we want functions because we do not want to write code multiple times. We want to write it once, and whenever we need that code, we will call that functions wherever we need that code in our project. So this is called functions. How do we pass default parameters to the function? So why do we need default parameters? This is very important. For example, we want to write a functions where we want to calculate text on a salary of somebody or something like that. So the text rate will always be the same, at least for 1 year. After that, it is going to, after the next financial year, it's going to change. So for just 1 year, we do have the text ratio is the same. Like it's not going to change, it's not a variable, it is going to remain the constant. But whenever we have increase, or whenever we have increase in the cost, we can adjust that, passing that change to value or changed variable to the function. But until and unless we have new value for the let's say for the text rate, we want to use the default value. So how can we do that? Let's see how can we do that. So it's lesson number 10. So I'm going to write lesson number 10 in .py. So in this, for example, I want to calculate a text. So definitely I will have salary, and I will deduct the percentage or the text rate from the salary, and then I will print that the original salary. So let's say def calculate text. Let's say I have the function calculate text, and I will pass two things. The first thing definitely would be salary, and the second thing would be text rate. Text rate. Sorry. Now this is a function to calculate what is the text calculate. Okay, so I want to, for example, if somebody passes its salary, I want to calculate what would be the amount of tax that he needs to pay. So I need his salary, then I definitely will have tax rate. So by default, I know that every time the tax rate, let's say, is 2.5%. The tax rate is always 2.5%. So until and unless this change, I want to keep this 2.5. So now, how do we calculate tax rate? We basically what we do is we calculate the tax. How much tax do we have to pay on our salary? We are going to divide the tax rate divided by tax rate divided by 100, and I want to calculate this first, and then I want to calculate this one, and then I want to multiply it with salary. So this is going to be the text, and I want to return the tax value. So now you will see that when a person calls this function with this salary, what it is going to do is going to calculate the tax for on his how much does he have to pay. So now I call this function calculate tax, and I pass the salary to be 80,000. Let's say 80,000, and I don't want to pass anything, so I just want to leave that as it is, because I just want to know what is the tax rate on mine. So definitely I will get text here, and let me print the text. So we will find out what is the text on my salary. So now I want to calculate what is the text on my 80,000 salary. So I'm going to clear the screen. I'm going to run lesson 10, and you will find out that I have to pay 2,000 text on my 80,000 salary. So you saw that I have two arguments here, but I'm passing only one. So what happened is I passed only this one parameter, that is salary, and I wanted to calculate my tax. So now I know that what is the tax rate on my salary. I said, oh, it's not 2.5%. It is, I know, because it's not 2.5%. I know the tax on my salary is 4.5. So now what it will do, it will discard this value, it will input, or it will save this value into this value, and then calculate the tax rate. So now if I save it and run it, it is going to give me a different number. It's going to give me 3,600, because this time the tax rate is a bit higher. Now what happened here, if I am giving the value, if I'm passing the value here, it is simply ignoring this value 2.5, and it is putting this value which I have passed through the function, it saves it in the tax rate, and then calculates the tax on that salary. But if I don't pass this value, it automatically gets this default value and calculates the tax and return it. So one more thing which I want to tell you, that if the function runs, it is going to calculate the text, and it's going to return the text value, right? So here in this variable, what would I have is nothing but whatever this returns. Let me show you. Instead of returning text as a number, I want to return it as a string. So let's see what happens. So I got text instead of text as a number. I got text as a string, So whatever the function returns, no matter what, the return value or the output of that functions would be whatever there in the return after return verb. So let me leave it as text because we want to calculate text. We would want to. So now you saw that I talked about default value. So default value is something that if the user does not have the text rate or something like that, it is going to get the default value. But if user passes something in the function, because it requires two arguments, one is the salary here we need, and the text rate to calculate the text on the salary. So this is very easy. I think look at it and try to understand the concept.